Star Trek, Primitive Passenger, Season 3, Episode 5. Collective Vengeance. The havoc loomed in the void of open space, its massive form imposing even next to the nearby space station. A flash of light heralded the arrival of an unfamiliar vessel, its hull scarred and pitted. The ship limped toward the havoc, trailing debris and venting plasma. On the bridge, Ilara stood with her arms crossed, her face a mask of concern. The transporter hummed to life, depositing a disheveled Nolan Mercer. Wisps of smoke curled from his singed clothing, and he let out a small cough. "Welcome back," Ilara said, her tone a mix of relief and exasperation. "Care to explain where Carol is?" Nolan looked at her flatly. She chose to put a higher cause above herself. He dropped into the command chair, letting out a long sigh. So Carol, she was taking hit after hit from 3 massive battleships and a swarm of fighters. Her warp core was about to blow, and I had a hold full of photon torpedoes. He waved his arms farther and farther apart. "Full of photon torpedoes," he reiterated. "The only weapon that was damaged and didn't work. The photon torpedo launcher. Tube was damaged. I couldn't shoot them out, and I couldn't jettison them with the warp core." Ilara's eyes widened. "Oh, Nolan, no. Yeah," he said, his eyes dropping. "I said my goodbyes, aimed her right at the pirate-controlled station. Dozens of ships docked there. Set the auto-target, and beamed myself over to that beauty." He jerked a thumb toward the battered ship on the view screen. "You loved that ship," she said softly. "So what ultimately happened with Carol?" Nolan's voice took on a reverential tone. "The Havoc would have been proud, Ilara. Her auto-targeting systems were peppering the space station and cutting down ships. Every system and every weapon I had worked perfectly to the very end. Absolute carnage." He beamed with pride, even in his loss. A brilliant blaze of flickering light, turning that pirate station inside out. Then, woof, he spread his hands for emphasis. The whole thing exploded outward, taking all those ships with it. Ilara shook her head, a small smile, tugging at her lips despite herself. "And your great new acquisition." As if on cue, the ship on the view screen shuddered violently. Pieces of hull plating tore away, spinning off into the void. Within moments, the vessel had disintegrated into a cloud of space junk. Nolan's eyes perked up. "Huh?" She lasted longer than I thought. A crooked smile on his face, a look of crooked tranquility. Ilara placed a hand on his shoulder. "At least you made it back in one piece, though I'm not sure the same can be said for your jacket." Nolan looked down at his ruined clothing and chuckled. Small price to pay for destroying a pirate stronghold and ending a brutal dynasty of subjugation. As they watched the debris field slowly disperse, Ilara couldn't help but wonder what new adventures and headaches Nolan's return would bring. "I'll call somebody to clean that up," she said quickly. The operations center of 'em, Puck." Nor buzzed with activity, a cacophony of alien languages mingling with the hum of machinery. Ilara stood at the central console, her holographic form projecting an aura of calm amid the chaos. "Status update," she called out, her voice cutting through the din. Pim, a runaway female Ferengi with a sharp mind for logistics, spoke up first. "The Bajoran freighter Prophet's Promise took a beating in an ion storm. They're begging for emergency docking and repairs." Ilara nodded. "Grant them access to Repair Bay 3, as long as they're safe to bring inside. Usual protocols. Tell Grikshak's team to prep for rush repairs, and to pad the bill accordingly." Before she could continue, Lirash, a gruff Nausicaayan manning communications, interrupted. "Ilara, we've got Central Command on the line. It's that breeze percent pain in the ass, Guru Soul." Some things translated from Nausicaayan pretty well. Ilara's expression flickered with annoyance before smoothing over. "Patch him through to my office. I'll deal with this personally." As she made her way up the ramp to the commander's office, Ilara took a moment to appreciate her newly expanded team. Nolan's empire was growing, and with it the need for a more capable management structure. She'd spent weeks vetting these individuals, preparing them to take on greater responsibilities within their unorthodox organization. In her office, Ilara activated the view screen. Gul Russel's scowling face appeared, his tone as demanding as ever. "Ah, Ilara," he began, skipping pleasantries. "I assume you're aware of the recent discrepancies in our dilithium shipments." Ilara had anticipated this. "Of course, Gul Russel. I have the latest figures right here." She transmitted data to his console with a flick of her wrist. "As you'll see, we've already implemented measures to boost production by 7% for the next cycle." Russell blinked, momentarily thrown off balance. "Well, yes. But what about the quality issues our engineers reported?" Again, Ilara was prepared. "We've refined our process. The latest batch exceeds your military specs by 3%. She allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. "I believe you'll find it more than adequate." As the call progressed, Ilara found herself marveling at Nolan's ability to navigate such negotiations effortlessly. She'd spent hours preparing for this conversation, anticipating every possible complaint. Nolan seemed to do it all on instinct, armed with nothing but charm and quick thinking. After concluding the call, with Gul Russell looking decidedly less irritated, Ilara returned to the main operations center. She was immediately approached by Trill, a young Orion woman with a talent for information gathering. "Ilara, you need to see this," Trill said, her voice low and urgent. Ilara moved to Trill's station, quickly scanning the data on the screen. Her eyes widened as she processed the information. "The Vorpal Syndicate," she murmured. "We've heard whispers, but this—" Trill nodded. "They're muscling in on our suppliers, offering double for cargo meant for us or the Cardassians. But here's the weird part. Once they buy it, the stuff just vanishes. No trace on any market we can access." Ilara's brow furrowed. "That doesn't add up. Why acquire resources only to hoard them?" She straightened, her mind racing. This was exactly the kind of mystery Nolan lived for. As much as she'd grown into her leadership role, Ilara found herself wishing he were here to unravel this puzzle. "Keep digging," she instructed Trill. "I want every scrap of information on this Vorpal Syndicate. Their ships, their routes, their leadership, everything." As Trill set to work, Ilara turned back to the main view screen, gazing at the stars beyond the station. Somewhere out there, a new player was making moves on their territory, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a flicker of genuine unease. The twin suns of Zira's world painted the sky in a mesmerizing tapestry of blue, pink, and orange hues. Their warm light bathed Zira's quaint house, nestled among alien flora with iridescent leaves that shimmered in the breeze. In the kitchen, Zira playfully bumped her backside against Nolan, a mischievous giggle escaping her lips. She reached into a nearby cupboard, purposefully brushing against him as she did so. "I just got some more Twexeldenin fruit juice," she said, letting the words hang in the air between them, her tone rich with suggestion. Nolan's eyebrows shot up, a grin spreading across his face. The purple juice that... He made exaggerated, obscene gestures with his hands, eliciting a burst of laughter from Zira. "Yes," she confirmed, her voice warm and inviting. "That purple juice." Nolan's looked her over like a steak. "Well, if you'd like to, you're welcome to drink up." He paused, his gaze lingering. "But I don't need any purple juice to get where we're going." In one swift motion, he scooped Zira up into his arms. She let out a delighted squeal, wrapping her legs around him, laughter echoing through the house as Nolan charged toward the bedroom, a man on a mission. Our view begins to slowly zoom out from the house, leaving the couple to their privacy. Start. The next morning, sunlight streamed through gossamer curtains, bathing the bedroom in a soft glow. Nolan and Zira lay tangled in sheets, their conversation drifting to more practical matters. "You really think you can get the whole grid set up in just one day?" Zira asked, tracing lazy patterns on Nolan's chest. Nolan nodded, a confident smile playing on his lips. "Well, one of my days, anyway, if I can stay focused on my work." He rolled toward her, his hands finding excitement under the sheets. Zira let out a surprised squawk that dissolved into laughter as Nolan found his target. "Nolan," she gasped between giggles. "You're incorrigible." Their laughter mingled in the morning air, a moment of pure joy amidst the complexities of their lives. As they lay there, breathless and grinning, the challenges that awaited them seemed distant and manageable. For now, in this peaceful sanctuary, Nolan allowed himself to simply be present, cherishing the connection he'd found with Zira. The defensive grid, the Vorpal Syndicate, the constant demands of his empire, all of it could wait, if only for a little while longer. Ta! The massive battlecruiser hung in space, its scarred hull a testament to countless conflicts. Behind it, defense satellites materialized in rapid succession, a gleaming network of protective technology unfurling against the backdrop of stars. Nearby, a small shuttle mirrored the cruiser's pace and matched it satellite for satellite. At its helm, Nolan worked with focus and intensity, his fingers hammering the controls. Mines dropped from the shuttle's belly, only to be replaced moments later by the shimmering transporter beam. The dance continued. Beam one in, drop one out, beam one in, drop one out. Inside the shuttle's cramped cockpit, Nolan's face was illuminated by the glow of multiple displays. Sweat beaded on his brow as he initiated a communication link. "Zira," he called out, his voice tight with concentration. "Tell the Council to activate the grid as soon as possible. It's set to warn first, shoot second. I've activated the warning buoys, too. Should give you ample protection." Zira's image appeared on a small screen, her expression the mix of concern and admiration. "Nolan, that's incredible. But are you sure it's enough?" "It'll have to be," he replied, his eyes never leaving his work. "I've got to head home now. There's a situation developing that needs my attention." A flicker of hurt crossed Zara's face at his words. "Home?" she echoed softly. But Nolan was already powering up the blink drive. "Take care, Zira. I'll be in touch," he said, his tone softening for a moment before returning to its businesslike cadence. "Mercer out." The communication cut off abruptly. Zira stood in her living room, the space suddenly feeling emptier than before. She wrapped her arms around herself, gaze drifting to the window where Nolan's ship had been visible just moments ago. "Home," she murmured again, the word tasting bitter on her tongue. Her little house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a way station, a temporary stop on Nolan's endless journey through the stars. "Nice knowing you." Outside, the defense grid hummed to life, a shield of technology enveloping the planet. But for Zira, standing alone in the fading light of the twin suns, it offered little comfort against the ache of Nolan's abrupt departure. In a flash of light, Nolan's shuttle vanished, leaving behind a fully operational defense system and a woman grappling with the complexities of loving a man whose heart was lost to the vastness of space and time. Cut. The expanse of Mpok. Nor loomed before Nolan as his shuttle glided into the docking bay. The familiar hum of machinery and the controlled chaos of the station's operations washed over him, a stark contrast to the serenity of Zira's world. As he stepped onto the promenade, Alara popped out of the security office, an air of both relief and exasperation. "Welcome back," she said, falling into step beside him. "I trust your excursion was productive." Nolan grinned, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Oh, you could say that. But I'm sure you've got more pressing matters to discuss than my personal affairs." Alara nodded, her expression turning serious. "Indeed. Let's head to your office. There's much to catch up on." As they walked, Alara provided a rapid-fire summary of the station's recent events. "The Cardassians have been more demanding than usual. I've managed to placate them for now, but they're pushing for increased dilithium shipments. We've had 3 ion storms disrupt shipping lanes, causing delays and damage to several freighters. Oh, and the Ferengi Trade Commission is threatening to revoke our trading licenses in the Calibris sector unless we agree to their new tariff structure. I've already sent a generous bribe on your behalf." Nolan absorbed the information. his mind already churning. "Sounds like business as usual," he quipped as they entered what was once again his office. "Anything else?" Ilara shifted, a sign of her unease. "Actually, yes. There's something that requires your immediate attention." She waved her hand, and a holographic display sprang to life in the center of the room. A web of trade routes, ship movements, and resource acquisitions filled the air. "We've detected a very distinct pattern of activity," Ilara explained. "A new player has entered the field. They're calling themselves the Vorpal Syndicate." Nolan's eyes narrowed as he studied the display. "I've heard the whispers and groans of it, but nothing concrete. What do we know?" Ilara, somewhat surprised, Nolan had heard of them, but hadn't mentioned it. "They're moving in on our suppliers," Ilara continued, "offering double for cargo meant for us or the Cardassians. But here's the strange part. Once they acquire the resources, they seem to vanish. No trace on any market we can access." Nolan's posture stiffened, his casual demeanor evaporating. "That's not just unusual, it's alarming. No one pays double for resources just to sit on them. They're up to something." He tapped on a couple dots on the hologram, seeing what was taken at different locations. "They're mostly focused on energy and just a few metal alloys. They're building something huge." He paced the room, his mind stepping through all the paces and processes. "We need more information, and we need it fast. Ilara, I want our top 4 former military commanders on this. Grayson, Talara, Koth, and Danjar." "Jandar." Ilara nodded, making mental notes while adjusting the phase couplers on level 4. "There's some of our best. What exactly do you want them to do?" "I'm giving them each a squadron of our most advanced ships, and their pick of crew members," Nolan said, his voice tight with determination. "Frigates with heavy weapons, long-range sensor drones, the works. I want them to scour every corner of our territory and beyond. Find out where these resources are going and what the Vorpal Syndicate is building." "That's a significant commitment of resources," Ilara observed. "Are you sure it's necessary?" Nolan turned to her, his eyes rolling in his head. "You've been on my nut for a month and a half about this stuff, and now I'm ready to kick it in the ass, I get. Are you sure it's necessary? Are you for real?" He turned to a console. "Do you realize that you once left me 20 emergency messages in just a few days?" Started to speak, and Nolan made a horizontal grabbing gesture in the air with his hand. She didn't know what it meant. She couldn't remember seeing him do that before, but she shut up just the same. "Once I heard the first 2, and the station wasn't under attack. A Glenn was bothering you?" He shook his head. "I have no doubt you were under some newer stresses, but I'm sorry, not an emergency." "So," he continued his verbal journey, "I'm giving each of the 4 of them a squadron of our most advanced ships. Their job is to get out there, learn a thing or two, capture and kill some key players. Start quietly breaking shit." He moved to his desk, activating a secure communication channel. "And that's not all. I'm activating our entire gossip network. Every Dabo girl, pilot, dock worker, bartender, and cargo handler in our employ. I'm messaging the network now. Any whisper of Vorpal activity, no matter how small, gets reported immediately. Latinum for good info." Ilara raised an eyebrow. "That's going to generate a lot of data, much of it potentially unreliable. Even rumors have a source." Nolan leaned back, looking over across ops. I'm so sorry. I don't think I ever got your name." He was looking into a group of people who were all looking at each other. "I feel so bad. I'm sorry. Green girl, I don't know your name." The room tried and failed to hold back open laughter. "Me," she laughed along. "Antrill." She placed her hand on her chest. A natural smile and big eyes hiding the rabid intellect behind them. Still smiling, every eye in ops followed her swaying hips as she made her way around the walkway toward Nolan. He also took notice. A sharp smack on the shoulder from Ilara quickly brought him back to the matters at hand. Nolan nodded. That's why I'm assigning our two best intelligence officers, Vex and Trill, to collect and analyze everything that comes in. They'll sort the rumors from good intel, chase leads, find the patterns we need to figure this out. Vex also stepped up next to Trill. They'll be part of the command center directing the 4 teams in the field. As Nolan continued to issue orders, the office buzzed with renewed energy. Staff members rushed in and out, carrying data pads and relaying instructions. The atmosphere was electric, a sense of purpose permeating the air. Hours passed, and as the initial flurry of activity settled into a focused hum, Nolan found himself alone with Alara once more. He leaned back in his chair, exhaustion finally catching up with him. "You know," he said softly, "I had a moment out there where I thought about staying. Just rolling around in bed all day, go strafe some pirates, take a nap. Just letting all of this go." Alara tilted her head, studying him. "And what changed your mind?" Nolan gestured to the holographic display, still showing the complex web of the Vorpal Syndicate's activities. "This, the realization that I don't have to go to the Delta Quadrant to break shit and hurt people." He smiled at Alara through the display. "I can break shit and hurt people right here at home," he said melodically, a calm contentment on his face. He felt like a Buddha. Ilara's access to the station's sensors showed that Nolan's heart rate and body temperature increased significantly while he was watching Trill. Now, close to him, she could smell the adrenaline, the testosterone, the serotonin, and that lingering scent almost washed away his woman in the Delta. Ilara wondered about so many things. Why did he smack my ass like that? And why did he want to do it for so long? I mean, he could have just asked, "I wonder what it feels like with a real butt. But I built this empire, Ilara, and not just for profit." He brought her back to the here and now. "This is our fortress. This is what keeps the factions from whacking me and doing God knows what with you." His head dropped. "My rare and beautiful Ilara, more than 1,000,000 times smarter than me," he whispered. "Not 1 in 1,000, just one." A pure thought that barely escaped his lips. He turned to the viewport, so she couldn't see. She joined him, and after a long pause, "So what's our next move?" Nolan's crooked smile. "We wait. We figure them out. We kill them. There's something more there. Ilara, I haven't put it together yet. It's just out of sight." As they stood there, looking out at the stars, Nolan felt a familiar thrill coursing through him. The calm of Zera's world had replaced the battles against the pirates, for now at least. But this, the boredom of the Alpha switches to the excitement, and battles yet to come. The Vorpal Syndicate had made their move. Now it was Nolan's turn, and his recent warm-up round in the Delta Quadrant had him honed for the fight. Epilogue. We see a flaming red flare streaking across the blackness of space. The Maldor cruiser hurtles through the night, a brick-shaped blur against the star-studded backdrop. It spins wildly, tumbling end over end, yet somehow maintaining its breakneck forward momentum. Red warning lights flash across its hull, accompanied by showers of sparks erupting from overworked systems. As the ship careens past, we catch a glimpse through the viewport. Nolan Mercer, centuries-old space vagrant and inadvertent legend, is waving his arms and screaming. Inside the Maldor, alarms blare uselessly, completely drowned out by the thunderous beats of Blackpink's DDU-do-do-do-do, cranked to eardrum-shattering levels. Nolan, strapped securely into the pilot's seat, is dancing with reckless abandon. His arms pump furiously in the air, head bobbing and tossing side to side. "Hit you with that, dee-dee-doo-doo-doo." Nolan bellows at the top of his lungs, perfectly out of tune with the K-pop stars. His face is split by a maniacal grin, eyes wild with the pure joy of hurtling through space to the soundtrack of music centuries out of date. Ooya, ooya. The ship jolts violently, rattling Nolan in his seat, but he doesn't miss a beat. If anything, the near-death experience only fuels his enthusiasm. He throws his hands up higher, screaming, blackpinking in your aria, as the Maldor narrowly avoids clipping an asteroid. Outside, the ship's hull glows red-hot from the speed and stress, leaving a trail of superheated plasma in its wake. It streaks across the sky, tilted at an impossible angle that seems to defy the laws of physics themselves. To any outside observer, it would appear to be a ship in dire straits, moments away from catastrophic failure. But inside, it's just another day for Nolan Mercer, barreling across the galaxy to the beat of his own drummer.